In this video we are going to cover replacing a blown out fuse in a vehicle, and I'm also going to try to illustrate the value of a lot of the information in your owner's manual. So it generally just sits in the glove compartment, but if you look in the front of your owner's manual, there's a section, maintenance, and it covers a lot of basic things that can really help you if you're troubleshooting an issue, as we're going to do in this video, of a dome light burned out. The interior lights do not come on when you open the door. Now, if you're trying to fix an issue like this, another little clue too that it's not a bulb that's burnt out is, in the case of this dome light not coming on, I have it pointed towards the front dome light, the doors are opened, and the rear dome light is not coming on either. So it's highly unlikely that both bulbs and both lights are going to burn out at the same time. So that's a little clue that you're probably going to be looking at a fuse issue. So, as I mentioned, if you have an issue like this, you're probably going to want to reference your owner's manual. Now, you can go to the front where it has everything sectionalized like this. I tend to like to go to the index at the back, but you'll find your section regardless. So if I go to the index and look for fuses, for instance, there we go, fuses, checking the page 209. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but just quickly I'll go into that section and it will lay out such things as the type of fuses the vehicle has, mentions the fuse puller, and what's really nice and handy is this section here where it'll lay out your fuses, where they're located in the fuse box, and then numerically list them as to what the fuse controls. So in this case, let's see if I can move this camera down a little bit here, we can see that for the under the hood fuse box, and we're going to go over this in a second, it's fuse number 17 for the interior light. I'm going to pretend for a second that we didn't already discover that the interior light fuse is in the under the hood fuse box. So as I look in this section of the owner's manual, it discusses the fuses and it mentions the interior fuse box, and it even draws a nice little picture of the knob that's there to open the interior fuse box, shows the little arrows going to indicate that you have to turn it clockwise to open it. So I'm just going to, we're down here, there's the brake pedal, and just basically what I'm trying to show here is that how valuable the owner's manual can be for simple little things like this. And there's the interior fuse box, and here's the little knob they're talking about. We turn it, I'm gonna move this camera, turn that, actually it's counterclockwise, sorry about that. Turn the little knob counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, and then when you take those off, those little panels, just to make things a little more clear-cut too, is that generally it'll be marked as to, on the back of it, what fuse controls which circuit. So for instance, right here, it's showing me that the radio fuse is right next to the fuse puller. If you see that, right by my finger, it says fuse puller, and then radio, and then the daylights, the starter signal, so it lays it out like that. So while I'm here, we notice that it showed the fuse puller. So here's a handy little rig for getting these fuses out. And what that does for this style of fuse, you just place it over the fuse like that, it just clicks on, then you apply pressure to the sides of it, and it comes out really nice and easy like that. And I'm going to keep that fuse puller because I'm going to use it in the under the hood fuse box that we know we're going to have to go to get to the interior lights. So I'm just trying to slip that fuse puller out of there. Handy little rig. Push the one I just took out back in like so. Okay, so at this point we're going to look at the underhood fuse box. And the owner's manual shows us the shape of the box, shows us the different fuses in it, and as I said before, numerically what fuse controls what circuit. So now if I actually look here, there is our under the hood fuse box, and it looks like it does in the picture. And the owner's manual tells us to release the two little tabs, and that'll pop out, and it does. And this is the way it comes off, but if we turn it over, on the back here is the actual listing of the fuses also. Now, if we didn't have the owner's manual, we could go by this and reference to find which fuse was for the interior lamps. And if we look down, according to this is laid out the same way as the fuses in the box over here. So, of course, just to make life more confusing, this is a Canadian vehicle, so for some reason this is listed in French, but over on the right side of the fuse panel, third one down, it shows a 7.5 amp fuse, and this is lampe d'ornement. So this vehicle probably came from Quebec, but at any rate, we already know that we're looking for fuse number 17, which was the interior light fuse, and that it's a 7.5 amp fuse. So, going by that, reference this again, we can see that, hopefully this will come out in our video, that fuse number 17 is right side of the fuse box, third one down. So I'm hoping I have the whole fuse box on the camera here. I'm gonna dig in my pocket for our handy dandy little fuse puller here, and going from the right side, third one down, and it's a 7.5 amp fuse, which is actually marked on it, in case you're doubting. That's how you find out, 7.5 amp fuse. And if we look at that, sure enough, back into position here, we can tell that that fuse is blown. The middle part there, you can see, hopefully. Now, I'm going to see if I can get out my good 7.5 amp fuse to kind of illustrate that. And what did I do with it? Okay, sorry for the technical difficulty there. I couldn't find the good fuse. But here it is. The fuse on the left has got that kind of little S pattern in there. So that's where the current flows through, and we can see that that is solid. The one on the right is fried. This one. So I'm going to take the good fuse, as we said, right side, third position down, 1, 2, 3, just lay that into place. Hopefully this will come out in the camera. See if I can zoom in a little bit there. That'll just press down easily into place. I'm going to jiggle it a little bit with my thumb. Should be flat with the other ones. Then take our cover, place that, kind of lay the back in first for this one, and then push down so that those little tabs lock in there, which they have. Now the big test. Sitting in the vehicle, open the door, dome light comes on, shut the door. We have fixed the problem by replacing the fuse.